Hello, Texas anglers. It's time to get on the water, whether it's on the lakes or on the coast. But this weekend's looking a little sporty for you offshore cowboys and girls, right, Rick?
Right, Brie, but don't worry, we're getting ready to find out where the conditions are favorable for reeling in the big fish on the Texas Insider Fishing Report, which starts now.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
You're watching the Texas Insider Fishing Report, and we have some great reports from our captains and guides ready with some full spawn going on some of our lakes. So get ready for big fish and lots of them, right, Rick?
You're absolutely right, Brie. You know, they've been fighting some seriously windy conditions offshore, but the bay fishing hasn't suffered. Certainly the bass fishing, they're actually getting past all the spawning stuff in most cases. We'll hear that from our captains, but it looks like the fishing is going to really shape up well this week.
Wait till you see some of the photos.
Yes.
Big fish going on. All right, Rick. Dave couldn't be here today, so it's just you and I holding down the workbench for it. And hopefully we make Dave proud. What do you think?
Absolutely.
You think we're going to do okay?
I think we'll be okay.
I think we'll be fine. All right, let's get our weekend started off right and welcome our new sponsor, Front Runner Boats for the Upper Coast region. Captain Carl Weston is on the line to get us going. What are we catching, Carl?
Well, guys, let's talk about some flounder. Those fish are steadily moving out of those bayous close to the points this week. The outgoing tide seems to be the highlight time of the day. That and the mid-morning bite has been hot, too. The water temp is about 74 degrees right now in Sabine Lake. If you move over to Bolivar, we're hitting about 70 degrees. But those temps are steadily rising each day. We're having some beautiful sunny weather. Even with the rainstorms passing through in the wind, that sun is going to keep heating up that water. The flounder bite has drastically picked up this week, with some very nice fish being caught in certain areas. As far as your setup, your rigging, artificial, let's use Fish Bite, Spike Club, shrimp, and white. They've been landing some really nice fish in that color this week. As the option would be live mullet, a really small finger mullet, free line on a slip rig with about a 1/4 ounce of weight. You can decide, how you want to fish. Just invite me for dinner if you catch anything like Mr. Walker with this photo. Caught a nice fish, and this was in a tournament, correct? This is amazing fish.
Wow, that is a beautiful fish there, dude. You're absolutely right. What else you got for us this week inshore?
Hey, it's still running with the redfish. When it's hot, stay on them. The weather is heating up like we just talked about, and those redfish just get stronger every week. They're pushing back up in the backwaters. The temp's about 70. It's holding. Like I said, it's going to get warmer. Galveston's reporting in as our hot spot. Along those grassy shorelines and back in those grass flats, with the rain and the wind, we've had higher than normal tides. But the anglers are not complaining, guys, because they're being able to reach back into those little deeper, further reach areas that you usually can't get to, where the fish have pushed that bait in there. And we've seen some beautiful slot reds caught just this week. Sabine Lake has quite a few nice schools of reds that are running around the area, around the oyster reefs, Trinity Bay, Texas City Dike. Like I say, the fish are almost everywhere. As far as bait goes, right now live bait is great. The good old shrimp on a popping cork is hard to beat, I know. It's like beating a dead drum, But the water being stained, live bait is a little better. If you're throwing artificial, stay to the light color. I love the Mirror Lure Mirrodine in that broken glass. It's always a great stained water option. And so just get out there and have some fun right now. The fish are biting. I have a picture today of Mr. Pavlok with a beautiful, healthy red right there.
Wow, that is a nice red fish. All right, Bub, let's roll ahead and roll offshore a little bit.
So we're going to talk about Jack Crevalle today. It's a fish it's a fun fish to catch. Jack Crevalle is definitely a catch and release candidate. Is not any worth the table fare. I'm going to tell you right now, don't even try it. But these fish you'll find around structure, like inshore with these windy conditions, around those old oil platforms, any of the little wrecks, inshore wrecks. Right now, these fish are chasing bait. I've chased these fish all the way out, catching them in the 80, 90-mile range, 400 foot of water. So these fish cover a huge area. Artificial bait, guys, here's something I'm going to tell you can't miss with. A large white or yellow bucktail. The R&R tackle flare hawk, tipped with a strip of fish bite in like squid flavor will bring these fish to the hook quickly. And get a good hook set. They got a good tough mouth. These are really hardy fish. fun to fight. They're crazy running fish. They're going to run all over the place, up, down, top, bottom. A medium-sized Penn rod and reel combo is just a blast fighting these fish. The Penn Battle 2 is one of my personal favorites. It has a smooth drag, strong built metal frame construction, spooled with the best line you can buy. I use Diamond Moy, about 20 pound or a little heavier. And today we have a picture of a good-sized Jack Crevalle.
That is a good one. All right, bud. What else you got for us offshore?
Well, let's wrap up, talk a little more about state water snapper since the federal season's not in. We're still catching them. And, with these rainstorms and this warmer weather, it's going to push them, like we said, it's going to push them offshore quickly. So if you want to get out right now in these nasty weather conditions, chase a fish like Jack Crevalle, something chase close, some of the state water snapper, you can get out there, get back in. You don't have to fight the winds or the big waves. So, stay inside that 9 mile. And we touched on this before. Those big snapper are still hanging there. I'm still seeing some caught this week. Cut bait like squid, cigar minnows, be your natural choice, shallow water. A bucktail jig is a lot of fun, too. Diamond jig, tipped with a little fish bite, a little squid. These snapper are running, say, 3 to 6 pounds on average with some really big fish mixed in. Rick, I would say smaller fish are my favorite for clean and neat anyways, or for ceviche. And we had a picture today of a snapper that fell to the old fish bites again.
The old fish bites.
I like it. All right, bud, thank you so much for the Front Runner Boats Upper Coast region. We're going to take a look at the hot spots. Carl says that inshore, the flounder are steadily moving around the bays. Up close to the points this week on the outgoing tide, throw Fish Bites Fight Club shrimp and white and fill the box. And then if you want to go offshore, pull on those big Jack Crevalles around the structural oil platforms and wrecks using a Penn Battle 2, at least 20-pound Diamond Mamoy line, rigged with an R&R tackle flare hawk jig, tipped with Fish Bites strips with white Fish Bite squid flavors.
Ooh, you know what that tastes like?
I do. It tastes just like squid.
That's your snack.
Snack.
All right, now we're heading into the Upper Fresh region where Mike McFarland has some great news for this weekend's Fishcast. Also, wait until you see these striper photos.
All right. Well,
can't wait.
You there, Mike?
Yes, sir. How are you guys?
Good. So go ahead. Give us what you got.
Possum Kingdom with my good friend Pete Hernandez. The bass fishing's great. The bedfish are still happening there. In fact, last weekend we had a 5-fish mega bag of 30.5 pounds caught in the local tournament. That's just a big, big bag of 5 fish. So post spawners are starting to prowl around a little bit. Swim baits and glide baits used around docks and top waters in the early morning on points are also working well. And you can find some fish on the ledges, brush piles, and the standing timber, where jigs, big worms, and mid-range crankbaits will catch those fish. The south end of the lake to mid-lake is still fishing best. Let's move on to Lake Athens. Athens is also good. Bass Assassins on Athens are working really, really well as the shad spawn's really trying to kick off there. Top waters like the Berkeley Bullet Pop and any soft stick baits like a Cinco. But you're definitely looking for shad spawn there that's really trying to kick off on Athens. And there's still a few bedfish spawning there as well. Let's go on to my favorite lake, my home lake, Lake Fork. Temperatures are down, but coming back. So we're 64, 67. The recent storms and heavy rains, they raised the lake a little, cooled the water, slowed things down just a bit. But the shad spawn is really, again, ramping up in the northeast part of Texas here. So the main lake points, the flats, anywhere that you can see shad flickering or the fish-eating birds like herons, white egrets, seagulls, and stuff. Mostly white bass chasing them right now, but the bigger largemouths, they're going to be coming soon. They're in the shallow backwaters in flooded cover, but as it heats up, they're going to come out. Right now, my best bite on fork is a 3/8 ounce buzzbait and white or white chartreuse. That's catching the best fish. In fact, the other day I had 3 6-pounders in the morning. Remember to use a gold blade on the cloudy days, and when the sun is shining, go to your silver. You can also throw a 1/2 ounce swim jig tipped with a paddle tail swim bait. And then you want brim or darker colors like green pumpkins and things on that swim jig. And then one last great way to catch them here on fork is just like, as I said, the Bass Assassin. The color albino is perfect color. Use it weightless. Use it around the heavy cover. Use it around the shad spawn. Keep that bait handy because a lot of times when you're throwing a buzz bait, you'll get a blow up and the fish misses the buzz bait. If you throw the buzz bait back to that, they won't eat it. But if you'll throw that Bass Assassin back to that blow up, they'll eat it about 99% of the time. So moving on, let's go to crappie. Crappie on Possum Kingdom. The crappie are still spawning there, so they're very shallow. Some post-spawn mode, but jigs and minnows, shallow water, less than 3 feet. And the best color there is black and chartreuse. Kerry Thorne at Lake Lavon, he says the crappie are still full spawn there. You'll find them in 1 to 3 foot of water in flooded grass from when the lake was low. Any type of logs or the bases of the button willows that surround the shoreline, they're all holding fish. Rig a live minnow or a jig under a bobber, again, about 3 to 3.5 foot. Easy limits there on Lake Lavon for the crappie. If you like bluegills, you like to eat bluegills, I love them. They're one of the tastiest freshwater fish. Lake Lavon is putting out giant 70-inch plus tasty bluegills. They're in 10 feet of water, 10 to 15 feet on brush piles. Use earthworms, crickets, or fatty part of a piece of bacon. I know that sounds funny, but a pinky nail-sized piece of bacon on a little hook will catch multiple fish, and you'll have the same bait over and over and over again. Again, 10 to 15 feet on top of brush piles. And then crappie on Lake Fork with Jackie Wiggins. Crappie here, believe it or not, are kind of finishing the spawn. They're really moving out to the post-spawn areas, loading up in the summer trees, the brush, the laydowns, 12 to 24 feet, and some even deeper, 18 to 28 feet on trees and bridges. The small hand-tied jigs, they've really been the best bet, but minnows will always keep you loading the boat. And then as summer comes, the soft plastics will still produce too. So here's an awesome limit with my good friend Jackie Wiggins.
Nice picture, man. All right, keep going. Tell us about the white bass.
Let's go stripers, white bass hybrids. Lake Lavon and Kerry Thorne. White bass are running the banks in the early morning where the shad are spawning there. 3-4-inch paddle tail swim baits are working wherever you see the shad flickering. It's best to look for them fish-eating birds, the blue herons and egrets. That'll dial you into the nearest, the tight area where the fish are actually feeding. I'm focused on main lake points, 100 to 200 yards of bank each side of the shoreline near those points. And then once the action slows down, pull yourself back off on those points and ledges in about 10 to 20 feet of water and use a 1-ounce slab spoon. You can continue catching those fish. Once again, there's still another round of white bass running up the feeder creeks and that annual spawn run. Live minnows and little medium minnows like on 4-pound test work good. Inline spinners are really good with rooster tails. And then the tiny bass assassin on a 16th-ounce jig head will clean them up. Tawakoni, Matt Cartwright continues week after week to catch these giant stripers. 64 degrees on Main Lake. Tawakoni's producing big fish even though the water cooled down. Shad spawns on the Main Lake points. And then basically during the morning you want 5 to 7-inch swim baits, white chartreuse. Sorry?
All right, thank you so much, Mike. We're going to go ahead and we're seeing this picture here. We're losing your signal. The great stripers. We're going to go ahead and take a look at your hot spots. We appreciate it very much. Mike says that the shad spawn is happening just about in every lake in the upper lake regions, stripers and hybrids at Lake Tawakoni, big bass at Fork, Athens, Texoma, and Weatherford. The variety of artificials around the shad spawn areas, they're all great. So look for those birds eating shads like blue herons, white egrets, and seagulls for the right areas, guys.
All right, the lower coast region is up next on the chopping block. Plus, Rick will give us all of his fishing secrets at the workbench for rigs and techniques.
All in 4 minutes?
Yeah, all of them. Summarized.
Y'all better be listening.
Y'all better be listening.
Talking fast.
Oh, we'll be back.
See you guys.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Ameritrail. Load, launch, relax. Fenwick, feel everything. Bahio sunglasses, blue light blocking, radically clear lenses. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy, fishing for adventure. Berkeley, your fish, our science. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats, eat, sleep, fish.
So, Bree, we're here doing the rigs and techniques. As you see, Dave isn't with us this week. He'll be back next week, we hope. And, one of the things that I think we agree on is there's always a question about circle hooks.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I see this cup. I see the circle hooks. I know where this is going. I know this cup isn't for this Jose Cuervo yet. So
Later.
Let's talk about circle hooks.
So here's the big problem with circle hooks, Bree.
Yeah.
And here's what I'm going to tell you guys. Remember this. This is the most important thing I can teach you tonight, is that whether you're fishing offshore or inshore, a grouper, a snapper, a trout, or redfish, they're always used to feeling something pinch them. A pinfish has a dorsal fin, it pokes them. A shrimp has a horn. All the different variety of crab pinches them. So when they feel something pinch them in their mouth, by a natural reflex by the fish is to bite down even harder. Here's the mistake we make. When we set the hook and they feel that leader smash them or tick them on the end of their lips, the first thing they want to do is go and blow it out. So whether you're fishing a circle hook or a J hook, I'm going to tell you, if you just reel naturally, and as the pressure starts to apply, you continue to reel through the pressure before the drag starts going off, you're going to catch more fish. It doesn't matter what kind of hook, because there's not that explosion going off in his mouth.
Definitely a learned practice, because you initially want to because you're excited, and that's, sometimes you do that with other types of hooks, but for circle hooks, no.
So remember this, guys, when you're getting ready to pick a circle hook, understand you gotta take into consideration how thick is the side of the fish's mouth. So this 9.0 Circle C Eagle Claw Laser Sharp is designed specifically for red snappers and groupers and whatnot on like a chicken rig or a dropper rig of some sort. If you're fishing inshore, you may be fishing around the jetty, or you're fishing croakers or whatnot. A circle hook is a very conservation-oriented hook. So keep in mind that we don't want to set the hook. So this is going to be our fish. This cup is representing the fish's mouth. So has eaten our bait. What I want you to take home with you tonight is the slower you pull, the better your hookup ratio is going to be. You see how well that worked? All we got to do is just continue to pull slow. If I pull hard, look what happens. It goes away. Yeah. A lot of the fellas ask me all the time, Bree, so do you tie it on with a loop knot, or do you tie it on clinching straight to the hook? I did both on both sides. Here's one where it's not looped. And look, even though it's a circle hook,
and you're reeling slow.
And I'm reeling slow, look what happens. It doesn't have the chance to turn. So again, we're going to do again so Doug can get the picture. As I pull slow, you saw how it had to do a whole 180, but with a loop knot, it's a lot more effective. It doesn't matter how it lands in the cup. As you can see, I'm just going to pull slow, and it always rotates because the loop allows it to rotate around the leader.
So your hookup ratio, just with the way you tie your circle hook on, increases instantly.
Becomes even more effective.
Oh, look at that. I'm always so impressed by this cup trick.
Yeah, me too.
I just can't stop watching it.
I'm going to be more impressed at the end when we have a margarita in it.
That sounds good. Jose,
yes.
Calling your name. All right, thanks for joining us, guys. The lower coast region is full of action and bent rods, so let's see what fish we'll be pairing with our Jose Cuervo this weekend. Go for it, Chad.
Chad, you there?
All right, you got there, yeah.
Come on.
I'll tell you what, guys, the weather's looking really good this weekend. We've had some tough weather here in Texas last few weekends with some big northerns, but I looked at the long-range forecast, even for like Shallow Sport Tournament, which is right around the corner. It's looking good for there, so I'll be down at that tournament with that 300 boat plus, cannon start shot, so it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to that. We're talking about inshore. Trout numbers are solid along the ICW from 3 Islands up to the Saucer in Port Mansfield. And there's actually been some sheep's head being caught in the ICW also by the fishing cabins along there, basically from Cullen House all the way up to the Saucer also, with some redfish actually showing up along the west side and some of that muddier water. We're talking about trout again. Trout numbers are really looking good. I've been talking about this for a while here this season. Trout numbers looking really good this year. Right now, the tides and the widths have been up, so try along that ICW, which is the Intercoastal Waterway. Try starting out around 3 Islands there and head farther north if you need to by the Saucer out of Port Mansfield and Arroyo City. Fish those drop-offs. They got some grass beds right in the ICW. They'll drop off to the actual ICW itself. So if you hit that with a popping cork and live shrimp, it works really well. And croaker season is upon us now. That just opened up just a few days back. So, May 1 it opened. So croaker season's here. and the bite's really on with them right there as far as trout. If you're using croaker, free line them with a 5/0 Eagle Claw right now, the bait's going to be smaller, so with the 5/0 later in the season, we'll go to the 7/0 fish shows, croaker along the ICW also. With that water being deeper along that ICW, sometimes it also helps a little add a chatter weight, which this will do. It'll attract, make a little bit of noise too, but it'll get your bait a little bit down deeper with that current rolling through there. Remember on croaker fishing, keep your rod tip kind of up, guys. When you feel that thump, just kind of give it a bend straight to the fish and go ahead and set the hook, and you'll be good to go. Moving over to sheephead, we don't talk about them a bunch. We're talking about earlier in the season around the jetties. Well, they move back into the bay system. They're along the pilings on the fishing cabins along the ICW. Use some fish bites on this stuff right here in a popping cork, or you can pitch it up right to the pilings there, or even get a split shot, little tiny weight with them, and free line it with the fish bites. Works really good sometimes. You might go a little bit heavier leader. These guys are going to be feeding on pilings, try to run back in there, so go to a 40, 60-pound Mamoy leader and a 30-pound diamond braid for your main line, and this will work really good. Like I said, they're going to try to take you back in the structures, kind of get a little extra heavier drag on them and pull them out of there, and you'll have some really good eating and a lot of fun. Got a picture here of Mary Beth Snyder. She's been on the show before with the sheephead. She's a sheephead queen down here in South Texas.
Nice.
So moving over to redfish. The redfish are moved up along the west side there by Unnecessary Island out of South Padre Island. I talked to Captain Eddie Curry. He's been fishing down there for years. This guy's really, really good. If you need anybody down there, guys, just give me a call. I'll put him in contact with you. He's with Fish Padre Charters. He's been doing it a long time down there. I talked to him, and he's been using some saltwater assassin sea shad. And with different retrieves, you can try some fast action with a paddle tail or a slow retrieve and bump it off into the sand pockets in the grass there. He said there's not a bunch of huge numbers of fish, but there's some really good quality fish with some slot size and some few oversized in the mix. Also, you can mix over there if you're using some live bait, live shrimp, and a popping cork. Also work well with that. So Eddie sent me a picture of one of his clients here with a nice redfish that they released on this last trip.
Nice.
So moving over to offshore, guys, like I mentioned, the weather conditions have been really tough last few weeks to get out there, but some kingfish are showing up around. We'll get a little window. We've been sneaking out there around state water structure like the RGV Reef and North Rocks out of Port Mansfield. So right now, if you're looking, I'd head to North Rocks out of Port Mansfield or the RGV Reef. You can hit it from South Padre out of there. There's not huge numbers yet. The water's still a little bit off because of all the winds and the currents we've had, but they are starting to show up. I'd throw some mirror lure divers. I put 2 out on the flat lines and then 1 right down the center. Put that one a little bit farther out, another wave or 2 back. Troll these guys at about 5 to 7 knots, and of course make sure you put a wire leader on these, on the mirror lure, and tied up good. A great rod and reel combo, which I've been using for years on this stuff, is a Penn International 16 wide with like 30-pound Mamoy mono, or their Penn Torch series is great. It's a little bit lighter, a lot easier on your wrists, and it can handle any kingfish you got with the same thing, 30-pound Mamoy. And when they make their first big, hit and run, these are fast fish. So have the drag set a little bit looser. That's why I also use the Mamoy mono. When they hit it, it's going to give it a little bit of stretch because these guys might get hooked in the face and the side and the belly. But once you get that run starting to slow down, put it up to strike or a little bit past it, start reeling the fish in. You'll have a lot better chance of landing them that way. And look for some bigger numbers starting to show up here pretty soon, closer around the jetties and stuff when that blue water starts moving in.
All right, Chad, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the shallow sport boat hotspots from the lower coast region. Chad said good numbers of trout in the lower coast along the ICW. Sheep's heads are holding along the pylons on the shacks along the ICW as well. Look for those redfish on that west side by Cullen House in the muddier water. And then offshore, kingfish are starting to show up over the state water structure. Troll Berkeley Magic Swimmers or drone spoons for some exciting action.
Speaking of exciting action, Rick, coming up May 11th, just next weekend, is the 23rd annual Shallow Sport Boat Owners Tournament on South Padre Island, where there will be over $250,000 in prizes, scavenger hunts, and a boat raffle. So head to shallowsporttournament.com for more info. Fished it last year. It was a blast.
It was.
Make sure you do it if you can do it. All right.
It's a really world-class event.
It was fun.
Good
All right, we've got your Fish Bites Middle Coast and Lower Fresh Region reports coming right up. But before we go, take a look at the QR code on your screen and scan away to get easy access to all of our social media outlets. Like and follow our Instagram and Facebook pages, and to see all new and exclusive fishing adventures, tips, and reports, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy. We'll be right back.
There we go.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. Tin Cup Mountain Whiskey. Shallow Sport, the Texas legend. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. And Penn, let the battle begin.
Well, Rick.
Yes.
You were at a boat show.
I was.
And you found some good stuff.
I certainly did, Brie. You're 100% correct. And guys, check out what we got new coming from Yamaha. Hey guys, as you can see, I'm here at the boat show, and with me from Yamaha is Lucy Berg. She's a product specialist. And Lucy, we're introducing a new Big 450. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Hey Rick, yeah, we are excited about our 450. We have more horsepower, it's breathing better now. We also added some conveniences to this motor to give our boaters more confidence when they're on the water, so they have to think less about controlling a boat and more time having fun. One of those things we've added is the total tilt feature, which you might remember from the 4.2 liter. That's the double tap of the up button, right? And the motor comes up by itself, double tap down, and the motor comes down until it makes trim rim contact.
So what about the steering?
Steering is integrated steering. It's plug and play, works automatically with Helmmaster EX, and the customer doesn't have to think about it. Immediate response to the joystick.
When you introduced the 425, the one feature that everybody loved is how well it went in reverse. Is this motor the same thing?
Same robust lower unit with that thrust enhancing reverse exhaust system. So it's basic physics. We're rerouting the water above the anti-ventilation plate so that the propeller under 2,500 RPM is getting clean water. So it's a more efficient reversed grab.
You know, on a lot of our big center consoles, we've got lots of toys that take a lot of electricity. What about the charging system on this motor?
Right, so this has that award-winning phase angle control charging system that gives us 96 net amps at idle. So that is stackable as well. So every motor will add 96 net, amps, and that's net at idle. So that's all that power is available for the fishing and entertainment equipment at idle.
Nice. So one other thing, it looks like, what is this on the back of the cowling here?
Good eye. This is a safety feature. This is our prop light that indicates that the prop is spinning during our set point features. And this is now an option on the rear panel of our XTO. This gives our customers the option between that or drilling holes in the transom for that same safety feature.
So guys, if you have any questions about any Yamaha outboard, you can simply go to your local dealer, or what website do you want them to go to, Lucy?
You can go to YamahaOutboards.com.
There you go, guys.
Well, Rick, I think you just about covered it all.
All of it. Lucy did.
Yeah, exactly. All right, the Fish Bites Middle Coast region. We're focusing on the red and trout bite with Captain Bink Grimes. So let's get to it, Bink.
All right, trout action's been good while drifting with bass assassins and live shrimp over deep shell. Multiple trout over 5 pounds are caught and released this week during the early morning bite. Guide Brett Sweeney in East Matagorda Bay reported trout 7 pounds caught and released on top waters and slow-sinking plastics. And then guide Charlie Paradosky and Kevin Kosick reported good catches on live shrimp and plastics under a mid-coast court while drifting. And then the Palacios, upper reaches of the bay like Trespalashes Bay and Karankawa Bay have been good along the shorelines holding shell. Guide Ray Sexton said he's been on the reefs with live shrimp under cork and bass assassins. He's also been wading around Coon Island with soft plastics. Rockport anglers have been tossing Texas custom corkies and soft tines along the sand and grass humps, scoring trout in that nearby Shamrock Cove and Corpus Christi Bay has been good with the new water that's pushed on the flats. Guide Rhett Price reported good catches over sand and grass, corkies, and topwaters. Jetty anglers are beginning to see some fish along the rocks on live shrimp. Cold front over the weekend kind of knocked down the temperatures, but this week we got a southwest wind, and our highs are expected to be in the 90s, so that water temperature is going to be up in the upper 70s by the end of the weekend. It's going to have a lot of trout moving in the Gulf right now. Photo there, Dr. Joe Cochran's always seems to catch big trout on my boat. I think God smiles down on him for his stance to catch and release and doing what's best for the fishery. Always seems to happen. Those guys that take care of the fishery seem to always, quote, get lucky. I tell you, redfish, they've been hot and cold for the last 30 days. There's nothing new with the transitioning from spring to summer. They're here one day and move on to the next. The swollen tides that push the fish in Matagorda, the back lakes, like Oyster Lake, Crab Lake, and Horse Trader Lake. But we had a lot of southwest wind this week and northwest wind. It dumped tides, and all those fish are falling out now. Boggy Lake and East Bay has been good, anchored up with mullet and crabs at North Shoreline. Reefs along the ICW have been solid on shrimp. There's some monster reds at the Port O'Connor and the Matagorda, Port Aransas, and Freeport jetties where a finger mullet or a pogie gets the job done. The next calm day, expect good catches at the end of the rocks on mullet and shrimp. It's just been too rough to get right off the tip of the jetty. Lots of swells coming in. A lot of black drum in the same locales as the redfish. The edges of the shell and the mud are holding good numbers around Shell Island and Matagorda. Bastrop Bay, they're holding all on the reefs. Reefs in San Antonio Bay are holding lots of drum as well. Those jetties are holding a lot of oversized black drum right now as those drum are making their annual spawn to the Gulf. Offshore, Gulf water temperatures reached the mid-70s this week, and it's going to get to the upper 70s with these highs in the 90s, and these guys are going to take advantage. We're supposed to have 1 to 3 foot seas this week. Yellowfin tuna has been a good bet if you can brave the seas. I've eaten tuna. There's been a lot of boats out of Matagorda. I've had a chance to eat some of their yellowfin tuna. Man, it's been good. Lots of seaweeds begin to float along the beach with the incoming tides. Work those weed lines for dolphins, triple tail, and a few kings in the coming days. A lot of shark action around the jetties as well. That gets done with a cut mullet or sardines along the beachfront. May is here and summer's right in front of us. Let's keep making conservation a priority in our fishery and release it more than you take. It's a blessing to be able to fish Texas Middle Coast. Let's do everything we can to make it better every single day.
Good report there, Bink. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Middle Coast region. The Mirror hot spots are this. Inshore, the trout are good while drifting the reefs in East Matagorda Bay on bass assassins and live shrimp under mid-coast popping cork. The redfish are solid in the back lakes and the jetties on fish bites and shrimp. And then if you want to go offshore with the winds, there's been a lot of seaweed showing up, so look for the dolphin and the triple tail around the weeds, and if the weather allows, then you can go offshore for some of those yellowfin tunas that Bink talked about.
Ooh, sushi.
Yes.
Sushi sounds good. In my mouth. No,
Yeah,
okay. All right, Matt Reed is reporting on Choke Canyon, Lake Bastrop, Inks, Fayette County, and Somerville in the Lower Fresh region for your weekend PB. Take us fishing, Matt.
All right, Ray, let's get this thing rolling. Mike Bates sent me a report from Choke Canyon. Really nice that the water level's still holding, steady because we've had some rain. It's a good thing to get some rain in South Texas. Early morning shad spawn is still going on strong in some areas. Look for the white birds, and when you get to that area, watch your depth finder. You can use your front view sonar to see the activity up there. Chatterbaits, rattle trap type baits have been your best bet for those shad spawn fish. The neat thing about the front facing sonar is you can watch when the shad leave. That's your key to move out to that 4 to 8 feet of water. You can catch fish there all day long on Texas rigs, catching a lot of nice fish there. But the deep fish are where the real thing is going on there in that 10 to 18 feet of water from midday on. Deep diving crankbaits and Carolina rigs have dished out lots of numbers and big ones also. Brian Cotter sent a report from the Austin area. Lake Travis has been fishing really well. Topwater bite has kicked in there, which always happens post-spawn. It's a great time of year. Walking baits around the stick-ups in 5 to 10 feet of water or on the bluffs are your best bet to catch those topwater fish. Texas rig plastics, with just little worms, 5 and 7 inch straight tail worms, have been really good around those same stick-ups. Also, they're biting the small swim baits. Lake Bastrop is going strong with the fish just starting to school. We're getting in that early summer pattern where they're going to start surface schooling, and you can catch them a lot when they're doing that. Concentrate right now throwing spinner baits on the outside edge of the grass in 8 to 12 feet of water. You've been catching some big ones. If that bite's been off a little bit, rig you up a light Alabama rig and throw it in the same areas. If it's cloudy with a little wind, hang on, because you're going to catch a bunch. Inks Lake's been fishing really well. You want to throw a shaky head finesse worm with a tail dyed chartreuse. The watermelons and green pumpkins have been the best shades. Throw those around the docks and shallow rock piles. Also, a dark-colored jig is catching those fish in those same areas. There's a decent frog bite in the shallow coves, tight to the tree cover and the ditches. That's always a blast when you can get them to blow up on that topwater. Greg Boyd sent me a report from the College Station area. Fayette County, fishing very good this past week with the bigger fish feeding on the shad on the outside edge of the shallow grass. You got to get those before the sun gets over the top of the trees. Swim jigs and lipless crankbaits have been your best choice to catch those fish. Also catching some good fish by pitching a lightweight, Texas rig around the standing timber in the Three Fingers area. The old standby there is always the Carolina rig stick bait and heavy, shaky head out in that 15 to 18 feet of water. They've ganged up on the points and road beds, and that's going to stay that way all summer long. Summerville's still got a little bit of shad spawn going on. The largemouth is shallow around the rocks and sandy banks, biting spinner baits and shallow cranks and topwaters. Got a couple of pictures here. It's Brian Cotter with a nice Lake Travis fish, and I just had to throw in a big old South Texas giant to top off the day.
Just to make Rick shake his head. That's why.
To rub it in, Daddy.
That's so.
Tell me about ruin my night. Go ahead, tell me about
the white bass and hybrids going on also. Lake Summerville, the white bass and hybrids been very good on slabs and swim baits on the lower end off the points in 6 to 12 feet of water. The Falcon Lake white bass are back on the main lake and full-blown beginning to school on the shad. Surface school, just watch for the birds, look for the activity. Spoons and small crankbaits will quickly fill your limit.
So I got a question for you. You day in and day out, you guys this time of year are catching big fish. A private guy going without a fishing guide, Matt, what mistakes do you think they commonly make that keep them from catching those monsters?
They don't get on the right type of rock cover, right rock structure. They want to go down the bank. And if they see a piece of wood sticking up at Falcon, that's not really what I target to catch those big ones. Rock is king in most of South Texas, so you just need to remember that. The rock is a big factor on how we catch most of the big ones.
I like your style, bud.
So in other words, call Matt Reed.
Yep, that's it. All right, bud. We appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Lower Fresh region. He says Lake Travis is beginning to shine, and it's time for the walk the dog style of topwaters to supply a ton of action. Throw them along those rock bluffs and around stick-ups for the best results. Small finesse, Texas rigged worms, and throw them to the stick-ups in 5 to 10 feet of water to generate fish all day.
Finally, Lake Travis is a hot spot. I fished Lake Travis. It is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Need to get back on there and catch some more. All right, our Middle Fresh region is on fire this week, but before we get our guide on the line, I'm joining Rick back at the workbench for Taco Marine new products, and we've got some Mother's Day goodies we're talking about.
Coming up.
So stay tuned.
Right around the corner, Mama's Day.
Woo! Monday.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Abu Garcia, Fish to Win. Fenwick, feel everything. Diamond Fishing Products, our reputation is on the line. Island Lures, tournament tackle. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Miro lure. And Startron, start, run, and store with Startron.
Power pole shallow water anchors aren't just for fishing. I use mine every day at the boat ramp. First, I get my bow rope ready and secured to my boat. Second, after the boat floats off the trailer, I walk the boat down the dock, push the back of the boat off the dock, and lower my power pole anchors. I then secure my bow line to hold the front of the boat. Using the power pole like this is a great way to prevent dings and dents and scratches on my boat and keeps my boat tight to the dock without having to tie two lines off. Another great way to use my power pole at the docks, especially when they're busy, is sometimes after a charter, I'll come to the ramp and every slot will be full of boats. But over to the east or west of the ramp, there'll be a beach. I take my bow of my boat and beach it, lower my two poles, climb out of my boat, go get my truck, back in an open slot, go back to my beach, jump in my boat, load it up on the trailer, and I'm out of there. And that is the power pole tip.
Well, Well, Brie, we're here at the workbench,
We
we're going to troll the Taco Marine Edge. And guess what? We're going to talk about some new products. We got Mother's Day, guys, just around the corner.
Yes, we do.
So we've got some that are Mother's Day oriented products.
Yes, we do.
What do you got, Brie?
So first up, I have about a bajillion of these shirts. They are the AFTCO Women's Samurai Sun shirts. Rick, I'm holding this. I'm going to turn it around. You hold it.
All right, I'll hold it.
You're good at holding things.
Yeah.
Sportsman Adventures logo on the back, but this shirt is moisture wicking and has a stain release aspect to it, UPF 50. It fits really well. It's probably one of the better fitting performance shirts that we own. It's just a great all-around shirt.
Does it dry real quick? Because I know you like to wear them to the beach and then you put them over your suit.
It dries super fast. It also, one of my favorite features are the thumb holes.
Oh, yeah. So that you guys can keep it when you're running, it doesn't blow up and it get burnt.
And yes, keep our hands slightly covered. But yeah, that's one of my favorite features of this shirt. It's also very soft.
All right.
What do you have?
So next up.
For the mamas.
So for the mamas, and it could be for the guys as well. This is a great pin rod and reel combo. It's called the Passion 2 combo. Ooh. Pink with graphite black. It comes with a 4,000 size spinning reel. And the thing that I like about this, Brie, is the action is a medium to heavy, fast action. 10 to 17 pound line. If you're fishing braid, it's 10 to 30 pound. It holds 270 yards of 8-pound mono, but 15 pound braid, it'll hold 360 yards.
Wow.
It's got a retrieve ratio of 5.3, and it's just perfect for, fishing for your redfish and your trout. It would even be great for doing some bait fishing for some big flounders as well. Perfect. I love the fact that this would be a great combo for your daughter or for your mama, your wife.
Yeah, it's got that nice, I'm going to say rose quartz color, not the pink color, because,
Okay, well, you know best. So you go to pinfishing.com, AFTCO.com for that.
Correct. All right, next up we've got Bajíos, which are actually on my head, and I wear them every week because they're my favorite. They're the Soldados, which is actually Spanish for soldier.
Soldier?
Yes.
Well, you are a soldier.
Yes, we are all soldiers, all of us mamas out here. But this specific style was named after the beach that Columbus ended up on. And the beach is like a long sandy beach now. It's filled with permit and bonefish. So this, that's how they got the name for it. And then it's also got the blue lapis technology to block out the blue light. And I can see so much better. I'm not just saying that I do with these Bajíos.
Well,
they're amazing.
because
and the style, they're stylistic. You can wear them fishing. They're very multifunctional.
You're taking out more glare because 22% of the glare light that the sun produces is blue, and we're removing the blue light.
More than any other sunglass company.
All right, you could go to where do we go? BajíoSunglasses.com.
What do you have?
And what we have from T&H Marine is this mini LED underwater light. Love it. It's a stainless steel housing, easy to clean the lens, soft start technology, 3 bright high output. So it has the RGBW LEDs and the built-in thermal overheating protection. And what they mean by soft start technology, Brie, is it comes in a variety of different color options. And all you're gonna do is keep pushing your toggle switch, and so you can go from white light to green light to blue light to red light.
Green.
You like green?
I like green.
I like it in red.
I like it dirty.
All right, so anyway, 2 wires is pretty easy. And I love the fact that you can go to thmarine.com to find out more information about that.
I will take all of this in a Mother's Day basket.
Okay.
Just saying.
Okay, Mama, you can do that. But where are we going next?
All right, well, OHIV, one more to go. OHIV, Toledo Bend, Sam Rayburn, and LBJ are some good places to be in the Star Charm Middle Fresh region if you're looking for a good time catching. So Matt, hello, show us some bass.
We're going to do it, Brie. We're going to show you some real big ones, as a matter of fact, this week.
We like it, the big
We're
ones.
going to come right out the gate firing on the largemouth report this week. We've got great news coming out of OHIV. Got some more giant bass coming out of there. So Getting right into the Ivy report, Jared Poole, Hill Country Hammer Guides and Outfitters, those guys are always out there putting people on fish. They do a fantastic job. And he's been keeping me updated over there. He says that the water temps there now are in the 65 to 70 degree range, and the lake is still on a very slow but steady falling level. It's almost 25 feet low now. He says that the fish there are on the very tail end of the spawn. So the fish can still be caught spawning, but they've also been catching fish on a big worm Carolina rig down on the flats and the humps. And he says that that pattern has been producing some size and more numbers. So if you're in it for the numbers, you definitely want to go for that pattern. And Jared dropped a photo on us this week of an absolute giant, one of the biggest I've seen in a long time. This is a 14.85 pounder there, almost a 15-pound bass, just an absolute tank, humongous fish caught by Mr. Leroy Boss. Big congratulations to Mr. Leroy. That is just a once-in-a-lifetime fish. I mean,
oh my gosh,
absolutely awesome.
Bessie the bass right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Looking good, dude. What else you got for us this week?
All right, so while we're talking Hill Country Lakes, we have to talk about LBJ as well. It's been really hot this year. Jared tells me that the water temp down there is in the 75 to 80 degree range. It's a lot warmer down there, and the water level is almost full. He let me know that the frog bite is still on fire there. He says the fish are just crushing that frog, and he added that a vibrating jig on the outside edge of the grass up the Colorado River side of the lake has also been good too. But he says you can't go wrong with the Old Faithful wacky rig skipped under the docks if all else fails. So sounds like LBJ is really pumping them out. Moving over to Sam Rayburn, it's still putting out good numbers of fish as well, but things have begun to change a little bit. The water level has come down slightly despite the recent rains. They've begun generating some at the dam, so there's some water moving through the lake now. No worries though, there's still plenty of fish being caught. Anglers may just have to adjust their tactics to catch them some this week. There's still a shallow bite, kind of like we've been talking about for the past several weeks with the topwater frogs and stuff like that. But now that there's some current moving through the lake, you're going to have some of those fish begin to pull offshore and set up on main lake points. So don't be afraid to go adapt and kind of go looking a little bit. Use those electronics and get out there and find them. Look for the large congregations of bait fish and for the bass set up on hard spots nearby. And as usual on Rayburn, a Carolina rig is always great for catching them. And getting into this time of the year, a crankbait tends to be really good too. So a Carolina rig and a crankbait are going to be your go-tos for that pattern. Now over here at Toledo Bend, we've been on kind of a rise and fall roller coaster with the water level over here lately, but the lake's hovering right around full pool level. There hasn't been a whole lot of generation at the dam, but there has been some. So some days there's some current, some days there's not. This time of the year, the river authority kind of lets the lake get on up. They're not pulling on it quite as constantly. And so that level's kind of just doing that up and down deal. But the temps are hovering in the 65 to 70 degree range now, thanks to some warm afternoons this week. The bite's kind of all over the place. We're in the post-spawn phase, and the fish are just really gorging on shad that are spawning. And so they're doing that shad spawn bite. So in the morning, you're going to want to capitalize with topwater baits, and then later in the day, back off to those hard spots and use a Carolina rig to catch them. Now we're going to finish out with crappie this week. Back to sticking with Toledo Bend on that. The crappie bite on Toledo Bend has been improving. The fish are beginning to gang up in larger schools out on the offshore structure now. We're seeing them on that offshore timber and the bridge pilings in bigger numbers. So look for those fish in 15 to 25 feet of water, and you're sure to find them. And I'm going to leave you with a photo there of Mr. Dave with a big old Toledo Bend slab.
So you done, Matt? That quick?
Yes, sir. I guess I was talking fast today.
You were talking fast, but I do have a question for you.
All right.
I asked the same question to Matt.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
In the lower fresh region, I want to ask you, guys that fish on their own without a fishing guide, what's the mistake they make why they don't catch bigger fish?
I would say it's in the details. Focus on the little things that people overlook. You know, making that perfect placement with your cast around the cover. Big bass love cover, and they like big baits, so don't be scared to throw those big baits.
All right, that certainly eliminates a small fish bite. We appreciate you answering that question. We're going to go and take a look at the Rodan Marine System hotspots. He says OHIV still has a few giant bass spawning on LBJ. They're crushing the frogs. And Toledo Bend is also producing quality fish on a variety of baits. And the crappie bite on Toledo Bend is heating up as well.
That bass was huge.
Yes.
Bessie the Bass.
Bessie
That's
the
what
Bass.
we're calling her.
So, Brie, you know, we have Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, is that why we're wearing these silly hats?
At the end of the week. And you know what? I think that it's appropriate that being that Texas borders Mexico, that we have a margarita.
You know what? I am not
Any
gonna,
excuse
I was
to
just
have a
gonna
Jose
say,
Cuervo margarita.
Any excuse is good with me.
You did a great job of running around and getting all the ingredients while I was doing the report with Matt.
You know what? Anything for a good old Jose Cuervo margarita, especially for Cinco de Mayo, or also known as Cinco de Drinko, or Cinco de Clinko, which would prompt a Clinko. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. Happy Cinco de Mayo. We hope you enjoy your weekend on the water, catching those big old fish. And Dave will be joining us next week.
Yes.
Taking away my job. That was so fun. Thanks for having me.
I would
over here
say
at the
goodbye,
Workbench.
but I've got so much salt in my mouth.
I would say goodbye, but it's adios.
I don't want to mess the mix.
For now, we'll see you next week.
Guys.
Bye. I haven't tried it yet. Ole.